I'm an old soul. I spent so much time in my younger years surrounded by uncles, aunts, and grandparents. I tell people I was supposed to be born in the 40s or 50s. But even when I was a kid, we had to get up to change the channel on the TV. And we didn't know who was calling us when the phone rang. People even showed up to your house unexpectedly. Well, because they were in the neighborhood. Wherever you grew up, you experienced a childhood that can never be duplicated. Good times, bad times, we struggled, we laughed, we ate, and we cried. I want to go back and hear your story. They say you can't live in the past, but we can hang out there for a while. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the No Remote Show. I'm Genovese. Today, got a good one. Been waiting for a while to get him on. Got my brother Doo Wop.
What's up, Genovese? How you, brother?
Wop, what's good, man?
Good to finally be here, kid. You know,
Yo, for real, for
I'm
real, for
sorry
real.
about last week, man.
Oh,
Just
no,
got
it's
caught
all
up.
good. It's all good. The great thing
That's what's up.
is, obviously people know Doo Wop, mixtape legend, DJ. And honestly, I have to say, you're one of the best DJ rappers. I don't think
Thank
you
you.
get enough credit for your bars. And that
Thank you.
goes way back to the mixtapes too, because you were doing it back then when you first came with the Bounce Squad and all that. But I always wanted to tell you
Yep.
that I respected your bar game.
Appreciate that. I learned from, I think Grandmaster Cat, my age range, Grandmaster Caz was probably all of our idols, and that's what he was. He was a DJ MC. People just thought he was an MC, but he was a hell of a DJ too. So I came from that cloth. Not that I set out to do it, but we'll probably get to that point, but when it was time to make mixtapes, I just kind of wanted to separate myself from the guys who were popping at the time. So that's why I started doing it.
Of course, for all that don't know, WAP, going way back into the mixtapes times, I was one of the kids getting on the train and from Yonkers going to the Bronx, going to Youngstar to get your tape. Like, so before we ever met in music, before I was really even MC, I was a
Right.
fan of mixtapes, and I was the kid
That's what's up.
that would travel to go get them, and I would bring them back to the hood, and everybody would be like, "Yo, what you got? What you got? Oh, I got a WAP, I got a SNS, I got a Kid Capri," and so I was the guy who was on those trains. And people don't understand back in the days where now you could push a button and get anything you wanted. But back then, you not only had to travel. For me, I had to go down to the Bronx. I would go to Fordham and get them. But you also had to
Right.
hope that they had enough tapes left. Wasn't there master tapes? Can you explain how the masters work?
I don't know if you knew this. Youngstar was literally, so that's 187th and Concourse. I lived at the time on 182nd, right off the Concourse. So those tapes
Yo,
were being made 5 blocks away from where you were copying them at.
bro,
Literally, like, right there, 182nd and T-Bout Avenue.
and T-Bow. Now,
Right, it's
yo,
one
that's
block away from
crazy.
Webster.
Who would ever
Yeah.
do that? You know what I'm saying?
Youngstar was the closest store out of all the stores that I would sell to. That was the first one I would hit. That's why they always had it first, because it's like leaving out my door, going right up the block first, hit up Father at Youngstar. But as far as the masters, there were people who wanted to sell bulk. Some DJs wanted to. That was their preference. I just wanted to just do the one shot deal. I didn't want the back and forth. Okay, we want to re-up. We sold the 20. We sold it. If you think I'm worth it, give me X amount of dollars for this one tape. You can make 1 million copies if you want. No problem. You know what I mean? So I did that with all the stores. CDs came into play later. It kind of changed. You had to kind of sell bulk, but because everybody did, you couldn't just get a CD duplicator the way you can get a cassette duplicator back in the 92, 93 in those days. So selling the master was a no-brainer for me. I'll tell you, I used to sell my masters for like 500 to 1,000 a pop to each store. Because we
Chill.
got to that point where I can do that. Some guys would get like $75, you know what I mean? That was
Yeah,
like the going rate was like 150 to $100. But after the Kid Capri thing, the Kid Capri battle and everything, I was able to do that and they didn't have a problem. It was just one store that had a problem, which later I found out is because they were like, Kid Capri put them on. So how were they gonna,
got it.
like they wanted to sell it, but then they were like, but they try to lowball me, they try to like embarrass me probably. I was like, you know what? We just won't do business then.
We won't do
That was
business
Rock
here.
and Will. That was
Rock and
Rock and
Will.
Will, Rock and Will, which is legendary to this day.
Legendary.
I mean, even even, I spoke to them after the fact. So, but back then they didn't want to, they didn't, but they acted like they wanted to sell my tapes, but they really didn't. Cause they would just give me the ridiculous, and we'll give you $100. I was like, come on, man. But I knew what it was about. It's all good.
Of course, of course. Do you remember what was the moment where Doo Wop was that guy? Was it a tape? Was it a time?
That happened in like two levels, right? The first level was 93 when I came, 93, 94, well, 93, 94 when I came with the Bounce Squad. That was one, but it was still an uptown thing. It was more to me when I say uptown, I mean Harlem and the Bronx, of course, Yonkers, Mount Vernon. Um, I was popping then off of those tapes, but 95 Live is what took me across the board. Like, so a year after
Man.
the Bounce Squad dismantled, um, West Coast, Japan, I like everywhere. Like, and even there's people I meet on from the West Coast now that would be like, yo, what happened to the Bounce Squad? But it wasn't on that level. It was more, like I said, I felt it more uptown.
Yep.
But 95 Live, yeah, bro. I started making tapes at 89, but it's not like tapes that I would even remember, but like just,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
getting my feet wet. But then the end of 91 when Kid Capri went at me, and then I went back at him
That's right.
1-1. The tapes back then were the dates that you put them out, or the dates that you made them or put them
Yep.
out, whatever. So I put out a tape 1-1-92, obviously January 1st, 92, and it was responding to his 12-3-91 tape. And it doesn't matter that it was about a month back then. You didn't have to respond right away. It was just the response
Yep.
is what matters. It wasn't
Yep.
like how quick you responded. So people were just going crazy off of that. So I would say my arrival, yeah, like it's 91, 92.
And it's crazy because I had to go in the stash
Oh
and pull out.
shit.
Yeah, listen, I was doing it, and you probably remember some of these labels. I got Bounce Squad, I got Doo Wop Fall Flavor '93, I got Spring One, I got Doo Wop Summer Jam, and like you said, I got 211, baby. Read the numbers.
211. God damn. Yo, did you say when you said Bounce Squad, it's just called Bounce Squad? That was the volume one or something like that? Or what's it called?
This just says Doo Wop Bounce Squad.
Yo, I think that's the one Bounce Squad tape I think I don't even have, because I think
Oh,
that's the one where we came up with the name, but I put like a million MCs on that. That wasn't the Bounce Squad that everybody came to know later, which was, Snagglepuss, Rev Gotti, Unique, all that, Leatherface, and me. That was like a bunch of MCs from the Bronx and probably from Harlem. And I just called it Bounce Squad, and they were all rapping off of break beats and shit. I don't
well,
have that tape.
well,
I
it's
might have to
yours.
borrow that.
Nah, not come on. If you
Whoa,
don't have
that's
one of your
crazy.
tapes, that's yours.
Wait, if you get a chance to throw that in somewhere, I don't know if you have the
I got I
capability to
got I
throw it
got to
in.
record I got to record it here.
So
So
one day, just call me and let me hear the beginning. I'll know by the beginning if it's
done.
that one.
That's
Yeah,
done. Yeah, I
that's
got.
crazy
I
that you
mean,
got
yeah.
that.
I'm so blessed that I kept. For me, it's like that's my tapes are worth more than having a Rolex. Like straight up, like or a car,
Absolutely,
because like you can't find or ever get that back. And it's something that's not
absolutely.
just something to say I have, but it was something to say that like it's like putting a collection together when you were
Mm-hmm.
a lover of the music. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like it was a passion to go get the new stuff. And I think as an MC, it was the same passion. I want to make it on those tapes that I used to
Right.
buy. You know what I mean? So, it just brings back memories of good memories and how we had to hustle, even as a fan, not just an artist. We had to hustle as a fan. you know,
So that feeling right there that you just spoke about, I gotta say this. So I remember my last 9 to 5 was I was like I said, I was getting my feet wet with the tapes, but I was still working. It was maybe like the middle of maybe the beginning of 91, right? So I had this job down on Reed Street, which is one block north of Chamber Street by the World Trade, and it was at a flower shop, right? I remember Ralph McDaniels because obviously by that time I knew who he was. I mean, we was watching him in the 80s. The station that he used to have video music box, I forgot which one it was, but W, whatever, it was right up the block from this flower shop. So on Valentine's Day or Secretary's Day, he had came in there to buy like a bouquet of flowers. Yo, and I was just like I didn't even say nothing to him. Like he wouldn't have knew who I was at the time. I was just getting my feet wet. And like I said, it was more of an uptown thing. But the Kid Capri thing hadn't occurred yet. It was like a year before that. It was like the beginning of 91. So I saw him. But anyway, bro, when I first got a tape into stereo, which now there's always a little discrepancy of it. Was it Stereo Plaza or Stereo Palace? Remember on 125th, right across from the Apollo
I
Theater?
want to say Palace. I want to
That's what I
say
thought. I
Palace.
think they made. I think they became Plaza when they moved to 149th. But anyway, so Stereo Palace, cross street from Apollo, biggest tape store, hands down. That and the Hut. But at that time, the Stereo Palace was like they would get everything first. They finally accepted my tapes in there one time. It was a process, like just to get into that store. Like I first went there with a 60-minute tape, not even knowing it had to be a 90-minute tape, even though the shit was the bomb. They were like, nope, we can't do it. Come back with a 90-minute tape. I went back home, came back. They finally accepted my tape and put it on the shelf. Yo, I live, like I said, on 182nd and T-Bout. You would have to take the D train down to Chambers Street to work, come back. I used to jump off at 125th, no matter what time it was at night, and get off and just walk past Stereo Palace to see if they were playing my tape because they would play the tapes
Dang.
on the big gem sound speaker outside. I just dying for that moment. You know what I mean? To like the hunt, right? I was like, I didn't care. I didn't care what time I got home. I didn't care how tired I was gonna be in the morning, how tired I was getting off that train to get back on that train to go home. It was a hike. And it was like, man, so I was just chill for a while, walk up, Phil, get something to eat, come back. I was like, damn. And I remember I can't remember exactly what tape it was, but when I finally heard my tape in front of this shit, there was a feeling, bro, that you can't even
Nah,
really explain to somebody, man. Like,
can't.
and by mind you, it's like that's what I did it for, just to be in Stereo Palace. I had a whole lot of work to do after that, but you just felt like you made it just because of that, just because they were playing it. And nobody had to be even walking past. Just I heard it, and I knew they actually threw it in and let it rock.
Yo,
So that
that
was
feeling
big.
is unexplainable. Like I remember
Woo.
hearing my joint in Yonkers, like, but it's still your own neighborhood, your own city. It's different. But when I was like on Harlem one time and we were all chilling,
Uh-huh.
and I heard somebody pull up, and it's 125th has mad traffic in the summer, and they would just stop right there, and I heard the Theses playing, and I was just looking, and I'm like, yo, like,
Mm-hmm.
and they had jersey plates. So in my mind, I never forget. I could picture it. It was like an old act legend or something, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just something where you're just like,
So
people really know my music like from that
that
far.
same feeling, bro. That same feeling. It's like
And
the
back
same
then,
when Bismarck.
I never knew mixtapes traveled. Like
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
know until one day Clue called me one time. This is like '98, and he was like, "Yo, somebody wants to meet you and talk to you." And he's like, "Come to the studio." And I got on the train and I just went down there. And who's sitting in there is Jermaine Dupri. And
Wow.
he was like, yo, you one of my favorite artists right now. Like, yo, what's good? And like, what are you doing? And I'm like, how do you know? Like in my mind, I'm like, how does he know? He's like, now we got all the tapes down here. And I'm like, I just
Mm-hmm.
didn't know it traveled. I thought it was a tri-state thing. I thought it was a local
Mm-hmm.
thing because we didn't have the internet and we didn't have anything to prove it wasn't. Unless you
Right.
knew someone, you know what I mean? It was
Right.
you
Right.
try to explain to kids now that and they don't understand, but it worked in a strange way because we didn't have any way to know that.
Absolutely.
It's wild.
Yep.
It's a wild thing. I
Crazy.
gotta ask you, like, going back to young WAP, like, what was life in the Bronx for, like, 10, 11, 12, being a teenager?
Shit.
What were you into?
I was born in LA, but raised in New York. So at 2 years old, my mom and my dad, they brought us, the whole family to, I'm the youngest of five, by the way, two brothers and two sisters besides me. And they brought us to New York. We started a life there. They told me, obviously I didn't remember this. They had to tell me I was two. We landed in Brooklyn for a little while meaning like months. Manhattan, and then we finally where I learned how to DJ, where I went to school, everywhere was 181st and 181st Street between Ryer Avenue and Valentine Avenue. And I'm gonna explain all of this shit. So we lived in a house. My dad was able to get like a two-family house just for us and shit for all of us. A house right next to the precinct, literally the alleyway where the police park and shit, that was the split between us. So we were like right next to the precinct. 2 blocks north is where years later they filmed that legendary part of Wild Style where Cold Crush and Fantastic did the basketball battle.
Yo,
That's the EBB park. So that's Ryer and Valentine. That's where I lived. 183rd, and I lived on 181st. Grandmaster Caz later on I found out lived on Creston Ave, which was 2 blocks to the left. Two of the brothers from I think it was Master Rob and maybe Master Rob and Whip or Whip, or two of them, they lived on 183rd and Webster. It was like I was in the middle of all that shit. I grew up in the ill part where
Man.
all the jams existed. Like I forgot what age I was, but it had to be 8 maybe. Like when I start hearing, you hear the music from far and be like, God damn, what's that? And then you just, you gravitate towards it, and this is a DJ and he's cutting up. And my dad and my mom, man, they were always like, I was spoiled. I ain't gonna lie. I was get like every boombox that came out. I would give my last boombox to a friend of mine, be like, yo, I'm done with this one. I got a new one. Had that big one with the 4 speakers with the 2 cassette decks. That
Oh,
was like my goal. Like I had that
that
one.
was
I
the
had
Rolls Royce. That was the Rolls Royce.
the Rolls Royce, the Rolls Royce. I had that JVC that to me it was just pretty. It wasn't necessarily the best boombox and shit, but it was this black JVC that had that big woofer that took up like the whole front of the boombox. And I'm gonna find a picture of it shit. So I got, I had that. I had all the boomboxes, but then I was always into baseball to this day. I mean, I was playing it when I was little, but obviously just a fan of it now forever. Like that was like my number one sport. Um, Pretty good in school, super quiet and shit. Um, I remember this one time in the 7th grade where we had like this Friday, we had like the meanest teacher, Miss Lattery, and everybody was just scared of her and shit. I was a good kid as far as like behavior and grades and shit. I was pretty good. And I was in Catholic school and shit. I went to Catholic school all the way to the beginning of high school. But anyway, so I was in St. Simon Stop. And I remember 7th grade is one Friday, they let us dress down out of our uniform and, like whatever we wanted to wear and bring something like a talent or whatever you wanted to do. Even though I was into hip hop. The only way I could find this timeline is what year it was is probably, I mean, like I said, I was in 7th grade, but Planet Rock was out, I believe. Planet Rock. So I brought the Planet Rock record and shit. So I
mm,
played it and I bust out the white gloves and shit, right?
nah,
And I swear to God, I start pop like the teacher was, this is the first time that bitch ever smiled in her life because she was like a mean,
amazed.
mean lady. Her reputation was crazy. I mean, God bless her. Like now we know, like we learned a lot from her and what, everything that we took from that. But everybody was just scared of her. She won't crack a smile. And she was smiling. She was amazed. I was like, oh shit. That didn't make me say, oh, I want to be a fucking
But definitely like
a
was like,
pop
oh
locker.
shit.
But right, like it made me come out my shell a little bit, you know what I mean? Like so, and then if I could go into this, the start of me DJing, how it happened, because it happened at 9 years old, right? And you were like in that age range. You was talking about that age range. So my dad and my brother took me with them one time. I was bored. I just wanted to go with them wherever they're going. Right up the block where this superintendent of this particular building that they were friends with would have some poker games down in the recreation room at nighttime when the recreation room is closed. But he's the superintendent; he has the key. So he opened the door up. They would go in there, and they would play poker, and I would just hang out. Right? I was 9 years old. I was just there was a pool table. So this pool table, they put the quarters in for me. They let the balls drop, and I was just throwing them around. I wasn't even playing I wasn't playing the right way. I was just throwing the balls around and shit. And I got so hooked to that pool table that when we came home, I told my dad, I want that pool table. So he was like, "Oh, that's a lot of money. That's this, that's that." I kept going, I kept going, I kept going. He was like, "Let me find out." So they told him they'll charge him $700 for the pool table. Mind you, 1979, $700. You
Yo,
already know.
yeah, yeah,
And he's blue. He's goes to work every day. Like he
yep.
just, he's living regular, 9 to 5. He came up with it and he got it for me.
Damn.
We brought it to the house. We had enough room, so we put it in this one particular room that was in between the living room and the kitchen. Boom. So now spoiled me every time my brothers got me pissed off. I would take the lock, where you drop the quarters in and they fall into that slot,
Yep.
right? But if it was in that recreation room, they would have a lock on the slot. right? But in my house, in my dad's and my mom's house, we would just keep the lock off because we just play with those same four quarters all day. So my brother didn't want to play, and I would lock that shit. I'd be like, no, nah, y'all niggas, I take the key, and I
Yo,
put the key in. Yo, they were able to get the key back from me. Then I went to school one day, and I took the cue ball with me. Like I was wilding on these. Like
yo,
I was,
that's
yo,
the
I just
little
had
brother, the bad little
yo,
brother. Like,
the bad little brother, right? So anyway, but so boom, I say that to say this. So the pool table's there for a good 6 months. Now I seen the guys DJ and shit. And for my birthday at the end of the year, November 29th is my birthday. They got me two turntables, a mixer, some small gem sound speakers, receiver, amplifier, so I could DJ. But I had nowhere to put it now. So I used the fucking pool table. So my brothers them hated me even more because now nobody could play. The
oh,
pool table became my DJ table for I could tell you how long, for another 6 years. So that's how we left that house in '86 and it was still up there. I had my equipment up there and shit. But yeah, so it was. But I went through them phases between that, between '79 and '86. Even though I was DJing, I was practicing, I was trying to be Flash and trying to mimic Flash's cuts and doing this. I went through them little phases where I want to be outside. I just want to be outside,
of
hanging
course,
out. Not doing no bad shit, but just hanging out with the
just being
girls
out.
and
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah, so I went through like, I don't want to do that for a while. But then what made me get back into it on a serious level was Eric B. Now everybody knows Eric B ain't the most extravagant fucking DJ as far as skills. Just like me. Like I don't do all that trick shit and all that. Nothing against it. I just never really got into that. But it was what he brought to the table. He was as big as Rakim. You know this. I'm just saying it
of
out
course.
loud, but everybody knows it. Eric B and Rakim, and it's because he wasn't just that guy in the background that the MC has to point to, be like, this my DJ, y'all. He already demanded it. Like, I'm that nigga, man. Like, yo. So just that made me like, oh shit. Like you could be a star on your fucking own. Like you don't have to have the MC. So that's when I got back, and that's when I got a pair. Whenever the 1200s came out around that time, I got the 1200s and I got real serious with it then. So
That's
yeah.
that's
But
dope.
as a
How
kid though, man, wrestling, I love wrestling as a
man,
kid.
me and you got
To this day,
the same background. It's crazy.
and I got a story for you if you don't mind. I'll tell you this wrestling story. So the blizzard, I think it was 77, the big blizzard that was like
Yeah, it was
snow
like
was like up
two,
to
three
here.
feet of snow. Some
It
crazy.
was crazy. It
I
was
remember
crazy.
pictures when I was a kid. My mom had.
Yeah, so at the time I'm either like 6 or 7 or something like that, and at this time my dad would take me to the Madison Square Garden, those big matches, the ones that would be on pay-per-view if there was a pay-per-view back then, the ones that you could only see if you go there and shit. So we would go to those, and we had tickets, and then the blizzard hit, and it happened to be on the day. The height of the blizzard was the day of this goddamn thing.
Oh,
Bob Backlund was my favorite wrestler at the
Bob
time.
Backlund. He put you in the chicken wing.
He was he was defending his title or going for the title. It was the main event was Bob Backlund. Somebody I was like, yo, I gotta see Bob Backlund. We had good seats as usual. I cried and I cried. My dad was like, there's no way for us to get there. Like, there's just no way we could drive and all that shit. My brother folded. My older brother was like, I'll drive him. I'll drive him. We'll get down there. We'll leave early enough. We'll take our time. My brother drove. We sat there, bro. The fucking announcer came on and said, due to the weather, Bob Backlund is not going to be here tonight.
Nah.
Yo, the Bob Backlund fight didn't even happen, bro. They
Oh
fucking
my,
sucked. I mean, I got to look for it online to just go back so I can find the date. But I
bro. But
think
as a
it
kid,
was supposed to be him.
that's crushing. As a kid, like that's
What? That's
Yeah.
probably the only reason I wanted to go, even though I loved wrestling as a whole. But that was like my boy. I'm like, I got here and this
Yo,
motherfucker couldn't get his shit. But yeah, I had to
Bob
tell you that because
Backlund.
wrestling
You
was my
brought
shit.
Oh, me too. Me too. Bob Backlund. And then Iron Sheik beat Bob Backlund to get the title, and then Hogan beat Iron
Yeah.
Sheik. But it's dope that your parents, your dad was a part of your success because buying that pool table, like led into not that it led into the DJ, but he
Uh
was so
huh.
supportive of,
Right.
and I look
Yeah.
at like my mom was the same way. My mom was always like, "Oh, you want to do music, but it costs too much to record or this and that, and like, what are you trying to do?" And you're always outside. And then one day she's like, come with me. And we went to Fordham. There was like a spot on Fordham. It was not like near Alexander's. It was like a radio
Uh-huh.
spot. I forgot the name of it.
Uh-huh.
But she went in there with a credit card and got me a Tascam 4-track, a mic. She
Woo.
got me a sampler, and boom, and it was like now I'm in. You know what I
Right.
mean? And like if she didn't
Right.
do that, would
Right.
I've ever had the opportunity to record like that, to have my producer friend come over and to work? So I always look back and say that thing she thought of and was supportive of what I wanted to do, was she probably really just wanted me to go to college or go get a job. She was like, "You
Yeah.
want to do music? Go. Let me see what you're gonna do." So
Yeah.
you
And then
gotta
and then
look
take
back
it
on that.
take it to this level, take it to the next level of how they let us do stuff in the house.
In the
Like,
house.
you know, so since I was 9, I was making noise up. I remember they let me just the whole attic was like an apartment to itself. They were like, just go up there, do what you do. They didn't care. I would even have parties, but not like, not little reckless shit
Yeah,
going on.
yeah,
Nobody was smoking or nothing. And I remember even in the early 90s when we were doing the Bounce Squad stuff, we would go to Beatman Danny Dan. You know who Beatman Danny Dan is? Beatman Danny Dan is the guy who's responsible for those Dusty Fingers breaks. You know, those break beats that say
yeah,
Dusty
yeah.
Fingers.
Yep, yep.
So those break beat volumes, yeah, he's responsible for that. He's responsible for a lot of shit. He's like one of the 45 guys, like the guys that own like every 45 and ill producer. He's the one that sold Bismarck the beat for you got what I need for that song. He sold them that
Oh,
like that loop, even though it was a break beat. Nobody had it but Beatman, and he heard it at Beatman's house, which was 2 blocks. He lived on 184th, and I was on 182nd. So he's heard it at his house. Said, "Produce this record for me. I got an idea." Beatman didn't believe in that idea, so he actually just sold it to him. He was
yo, I
like, "Here,
never
just
knew
take
that.
it." He gave him 3K, and that was it. Imagine if he would have took some points or something on that song.
Yo,
So that was a super
that's
fumble.
crazy. Wop, I never knew that.
So yep. So he lived by himself, him and his fucking dog, and he was grown. He was older than us. So we would go to his house to record the Bounce Squad tapes, only the intros, because the Bounce Squad liked to smoke and all that. So the rest of the
Yep.
tape I'll do at my house. I did too, but the rest of the tape I could just do at my house. But let's do the intro, that the famous intros that everybody probably remembers. If you remember the Bounce Squad, we used to do them at Beatman's house. So we were there one time, and when we were done, I came home and I walked in, and my mother said, "Somebody's in your room." And I was like, "What do you mean somebody's in my room?" I go back there. Bismarck is on the floor, Indian style.
Nah.
And the Indian style next to him is Little Shaheem, 93. They were
Yo.
playing PlayStation on my TV. She said, "I seen them on TV. I know who they are. Like, I know they're good." Like, I was like, "Mom, you just let people in?" She was like, "I seen the big guy on TV already. I know
She
who
was
he is."
like,
And he was
Biz, I'm
super
letting
nice. I
Biz
was like,
in.
so Biz came in there. He was chilling with Shaheem, man. Yo, Biz is like the
Yo,
founder of all talents too. It blew my mind when I saw the documentary. It was so sad. At the same time, it was so dope to see it because I always knew he was kind of responsible for, mostly responsible for Big Daddy Kane's success. But I didn't know it's Rakim
Kane.
too, and he never bragged about it. I would brag about that shit if I was responsible for two of the greatest, two
Hell
of the
yeah.
arguably top five. Like he fucking made Rakim come out his shell and go into MC contests in the city and drove him to these contests and made him get to that point. That was crazy to me. But
Yo.
yeah, man.
Biz just
So
chilling
mom
in
was
your
super
crib.
supportive
That's
too.
classic. That's
Yup.
classic. What a legend,
Yup.
man. So with the
It's
Bounce Squad, I
crazy.
gotta ask you, how did the Bounce Squad come about? Was it like, did you think it would be what it was when you kind of put it together on your
No, it
tape, or
was
did you?
super. It's super fast. So 91, I was always like back in those days, I was rolling with like a lot of my people on my block was super supportive of me. A lot of my friends, childhood friends, new friends that I met at the time, and they would just all go with me everywhere. When I take my master tape to go, and they didn't want nothing. They were just rolling with me, you know what I mean? They would go with me, and so it was my crew. And they came up with a name called the Bounce Squad of because I was the bounce master. So they were like, "We're the Bounce Squad," but it wasn't no MCs. It was just a bunch of dudes that would just
Like
roll
a
with me.
crew, just your crew.
They got my back. Yeah, whatever. If something jumps off, they there or whatever. So drive me wherever I gotta go, shit like that. So we were the bounce squad. So then in the end of 93, just came up with this idea of having this a dance audition because it was somebody doing, I'm not gonna remember exactly, but it was a video that was about to be shot on the block, and we needed some dancers. Had nothing to do with the bounce squad. It was somebody else, but I was holding like a talent show for some dancers. So I was there, but people that got MCs that got wind of it were like, I'm gonna go there and rap. I'm not going to dance. I'm going to rap, see if he'll listen to me. So these two guys from Edenwall, all that, and Rev Gotti, which I didn't know at the time who they were. I mean, they weren't even on any tape shit. They just wanted to rap for me. I was like, fuck it, let them rap. It got to the point where it turned into an MC contest, right? I was like, I took their number, probably, whatever. I kept their contact, and I said, yo, they were fucking dope. These two guys were dope. So I'm talking to my people, and we're like, maybe just make an MC crew. Because you already rap in the beginning of your tapes. What if it's like they rap also with you? And I'm like, yeah, this, we built on it and we came to the point later, but we need a little more. So while we're not really looking, but it's in the back of our mind. I was at the Fever, which obviously that was the new Fever. The last Fever that existed was very close to where I grew up at. It was on Webster and Tremont near the White Castle, right there on the corner. It was the old Fever shut down years before, so they opened one there. But the same owner, Sal Abatello.
Sal,
So
yeah.
yeah. So he opened that Fever up, and I was DJing there every Wednesday. So this girl came up to me and was like, yo, I used to be in a rap, and I used to be in a group, but we split up. You probably heard of us, the Ghetto Girls. And I'm like, oh yeah, I seen on Video Music Box. They had My Man's Playing Tricks on Me, parody off of My Mind Playing Tricks on Me. And she was the shorter one, not the midget. She was the shorter girl of the two rappers. Her name is Unique. So I kept that in my back pocket. I'm like, she's dope.
So
Boom.
you're building the whole team right now, like
Right,
yeah.
right. And I didn't necessarily say I think we need one more, but this is all the planning. Like we're still like thinking about what we're gonna do, so it's not solidified yet. But I was coming back one day from Savoy Manor. I did a gig and it was so nice out that we said, fuck it, let's walk back. I let my boys and them in a car take my crates home, and we were walking up the concourse. Nice summer night, like maybe 2 in the morning. And this guy was like, yo, Doo Wop. He was like, yo, can my man rap for you real quick? I was like, sure. And it was Snagglepuss. That was like it was right across the street from Bronx Lebanon Hospital, which is 173rd in the Grand Concourse. He rapped, he was dope. And that's when I said, okay, now this is it. That's a squad right there, like four. And this dude is like, what I always say later. I mean, I think he took offense to it one time. I said he's like the Method Man of our crew. That's the total compliment. That's nothing but a compliment.
Yep.
He's the Method Man of our crew. Like he stands out everything's checked off from his personality to his looks to his flow, punchlines, everything. Check, check, check. So I let everybody else to just be, everybody else. It gels together like really well. So that's how we came about.
And
We took a shot, and it was embraced more than we even thought, bro. Like it was to the point we had to get shirts. They went to Harlem one day, and they were just selling their Bounce Squad shirts, and they were like getting chased and shit on some good shit, on some fan shit. Like I was like, what? They was like, yo, it's crazy. Like, yo, so that just kept us going. And then I got a record deal. In a nutshell, I got a record deal, solo deal on New Tribe Virgin. But before I signed the deal, we were already like at the last step. The A&R said, wait, you got a crew too. Can we add them to the deal? And like a dickhead, well, not like as somebody who didn't know the business yet, I was 23. I didn't know the business. I was like, sure, let them sign to my deal. I could have said sign them separately. Let's
yep.
all have a deal. I signed them to my deal. So now we don't care about the money because we're getting probably at that time, 25,000 advance total. So we were gonna split, like 5,000, 6,000 each.
Yep.
All right, cool. Great money though. At 23, just
Of
some
course.
boom right off the top. And we're buzzing in the street making that money. So, but this is the thing they did. The direction they wanted to take us in was they wanted us to pack up and move to the West Coast for 1 year and work with N.O. Joe, which now when you think about it, like, oh shit, N.O. Joe. They wanted to work with N.O. Joe. They wanted us to work with somebody that exhibit or somebody, I forgot who. Bottom line is, we were like, there's no way in the world we're gonna leave The way y'all know us, let me rewind. The way they knew us is because we were popping in the New York streets and we were staying hip to what everything that was going on. No social media, so we had to be there. We had to have boots on the ground in New York to feel what's going on, to make these intros that with these and these punchlines that make sense to everything that's going on. That's what used to bug everybody out. Like when they used to hear us Christmas tape, we used to do like Christmas jingles and do all this and add some lines from something that's going on in New York. They want us to leave all of that for a year and disappoint all these people that are following us. And these people are not gonna be like, come on, man. They're gonna be like, where y'all at? Like, what are y'all doing? Yeah, we could have probably made the tapes on the West Coast, but we just didn't feel, we felt like we had to be there. Like I said, boots on the ground. We felt we had to be there on the East Coast. It was that chemistry that we all had. Each piece was something that everybody wanted to hear on every tape. So we made one more tape after that, which was Fall Flavor 94. So the Bounce Squad run was from 93 to the end of 94. And it went like, it was extraordinary. But towards the end, I'm like, yo, we got to come up with something else. And then these other dudes, they start, the rest of the guys, they didn't want to sign to my production. It got kind of like the
It's the
business got
whole
fucked up
listen,
with it.
the business always destroys everything. And if the
Right.
business, the label does the rest to destroy it, to change what you have already
And
done.
people bought that tape sometimes just to hear the Bounce Squad intro. They didn't even care about the rest of the tape,
Bro,
which I respect. You want me to
yeah.
tell you how the 95 Live came out?
Before you go into that,
Yeah.
I don't want to forget something on the Bounce Squad is that the reason I think people love the Bounce Squad is that first of all, it was so unique with all these different characters and sounds, but everybody had bars, but in their own way. And at that time, you didn't really hear a chick rhyme like that. I think she
Uh-huh.
birthed a lot of the females that came after. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
listen, there was nobody girl wise rapping the way she was rapping. And listen, people could go back and check it now, but at that time when you had Snagglepuss, her, and you had Rev Gotti, he had that voice, and then you had Rampage, you had all these artists that were like
Right.
so all that was on that grimy, and everybody sounded different. Where like,
Yeah.
I think that's like why Wu-Tang succeeded because they all had their own
Uh-huh.
styles. And it was like it reminded me of that in a way because
Right.
I think you put a lot of like trend setting. And listen, people love
Mm-hmm.
your mixtapes, but I'm telling you, you had supporters that were like, "Yo, I need to hear what the Bounce Squad is saying. I got to buy that tape. I don't care
Yeah,
what's
for
on it.
sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna
For
listen to
sure.
the tape, but I need to hear Bounce Squad."
For sure. For sure. And yeah, the whole shit too, like everybody had their own, like, like you said, like a Wu-Tang. Even Raekwon, when I first met Raekwon, he was always saying how, yo, man, like those, like that was our brain power. I think that's the phrase he used. He was like, those Bounce Squad tapes was our brain power. And that, when they was coming up and shit. But so like I was saying, so now the Bounce Squad's dead. So now it's like, the fuck I'm gonna do to come out with a bang in 95. So Fat Man Scoop working for Tommy Boy at this time. He was working for marketing promotions. He would call every DJ probably every other week or every week just to make sure we got what we need. Service the DJs, as far as you need some more vinyl. Did you get this? Did you get that? Make sure we straight. So it was just those calls that I didn't really look forward to because if I got it, I got it. If not, whatever, I get it. But I would answer the phone. What up, Scoop? Yeah, yeah, I got it. I got it. He's like, you got the New Jersey Drive soundtrack? I think that's what he asked me that day. And I was like, yeah, yeah, because it was like a white label at the time. It wasn't really out. I was like, I got it. It's dope. I did it and another. All right, cool. Yo, by the way, before we hung up, he said, by the way, Buster said, what's up? And this goes back to what you said earlier about you didn't know how somebody like how Jermaine Dupri knew who you were. Even in 95, I still didn't understand how Busta Rhymes knew who I was. And I'm not being like super humble right now. This is not like a fucking fake right now. It's like seriously. I was like, Buster, who? He was like, Buster's here. Hold on. He put Buster on the phone. I busted, yo, God, yo, and he's just giving me all my flowers and shit. I'm like, it's 95, bro. Like this nigga, like, oh shit. Like I'm on the phone with Buster Rhymes. He's like, whatever
Yep.
you need me here, take my number down, whatever you need. If you ever need me to come to the studio, bing. I was like, at this time, remember Genovese, we talking up to 95, you didn't hear rappers, popular rappers on mixtapes, rapping,
Nope.
spitting.
Nope.
Lord Tariq, even though he used to be on Triple C tapes before he was on mine, because that's the cloth he came
Time
from.
out. Time out. because I can't forget Lord. He's on my notes because listen, I got to go into a quick Lord Tariq thing
Yeah, that's
because
fine. That's fine.
I would go buy Triple C tapes to find when I first heard Lord. Listen, another person. Nobody was rapping like Lord Tariq. Lord Tariq birthed a lot of the street shit that people came later, and
Crazy.
from
I just
your
got
tapes and
chills
Triple
thinking
C
about some
tapes,
of his bars. Yep.
bro. When he came out with that Lords of the Underground beat, and he
That's what he
said,
came out on my tape with.
yo,
Yo,
on the Bronx
I don't
blocks
like
and a
white
champion and
greasers.
boxing a hustler. All my life I've been good and hustle. I was like, yo, we used to be like, who is this kid? And the beautiful thing about it, I always tell Tariq this now. We met up later and we did music together. We did a song called Block is Hot. And, you know, they invited me and Mo Money to the Uptown Baby video in Shea Stadium. Not only they invited us, they were like, yo, get in. And if you look in the back, I'm like in the dressing room and shit. But like, it's the best thing in the world is when you like
Yeah.
admire someone skillfully, but then you meet them in their official and you get a bond because now you even love their music more because you know what type of good person they are. So I have
Yep.
to shout out Lord Tariq because
Have to.
Tariq is a trendsetter, another one.
He was like the honorary Bounce Squad member. He was always, so affiliated with, like, he was always on our tapes, but he still had his own, the faculty and the guys in Soundview. But he was all, everybody looked forward to his parts. Another person that would be on my tapes a lot too, like he was a damn Bounce Squad member, was Fat Joe and Sadat. So this is the time before
Wait,
'95. But
what about Tracey Morgan?
Tracey Morgan.
People do not know that Tracey Morgan would be sometimes at the end of your tapes when he was
right,
nobody. Am I
right.
wrong on that?
You're absolutely right. I tell you the ill Tracy Morgan story. Like, I don't do many interviews, but I don't think I ever told it like on an interview. So this is dope. 91. I was at that time. I was at my girl crib just chilling nighttime, and my one of my boys from the Bounce Squad, like the crew, my crew, he called me. He said, "Look outside the window real quick." So I looked out, and he was with this dude that I didn't know in the middle of the street. It was dark. It was winter time. It was nobody out. It was probably like 10, 11 at night, and he's like, "Yo, my man, want to do something for you." And I thought he was gonna rap. All of a sudden, he takes his shirt off, big ass belly, that Tracy Morgan that y'all seen years later, the same guy I'm looking at in 91 when nobody knew him. He takes off his shirt and he starts doing comedy. And he's looking up. I'm on a third floor window. He's yelling these fucking jokes. I'm like, yo, this guy's crazy. He's like, yo, I want to be Bounce Squad. I want to be in the Bounce Squad. I'm like, nigga, you down, whatever. We'll talk. So I start bringing him to parties and letting him open right before my set, like to the PAL, local parties and shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe not the Fever yet, because this is like 91. So it was like more hood parties. I would bring him and he would just have everybody rolling. And and put them on the tapes to do little skits. So then I forgot around what time this was, but maybe a year later, I started doing business with this dude, God bless, he passed away a few years ago, named Mike Red, who he was a Bronx street legend in that other game. He
Yo,
was doing his thing. He had all the cars. He was a friend of mine. He saw me grow up, so he wanted, at the time, he was like, I want to put my money into something. Let me manage you. I'm like, fuck it. I didn't mind rolling with him because he was Mike Red.
of
Niggas knew
course.
Mike Red. So it's like, rolling around with a little Suge and shit, a little Suge Knight. So I'm like, let's do it. So he got a wind of Tracy while I put Tracy down with us. He's like, yo, what is he doing? Yo, let's take him down to the Uptown Comedy Club, the one that they used to do every week, but not when it was on TV yet. It was still just a local thing on 125th. He took him there. He got him in. It wasn't easy to get in, but he got him in. He did his thing there. From that, he got into the Apollo, Showtime at the Apollo. Now he was on TV. From then, he got into Martin. At this point, I'm doing me. I'm still in touch with him, but I'm not like, I don't feel I have like some type of, you know, like like ties with him or nothing business wise. I'm just like, whatever. I'm doing me. I'm like, I'm going crazy in the street with the DJ shit. Years later, when he blows up, Mike comes and like, yo, we helped this motherfucker get to where he's at. Now he's making millions.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
yo, I need to see him. I'm like, Mike, chill. Like, just chill. Just chill. He's not my manager anymore, but he's still my friend at the time. I'm like, just chill. I found out later on the low, Mike was popping up everywhere Tracy was at. He
Oh
was,
shit.
trying to holler at him.
Yeah, yeah.
But now, when I found that out, I felt funny because I'm like, oh, you know what? Like, One time I saw Tracey Morgan in the middle of the night and he gave me his number. And when I called the number, and it was just to say what's up, I called the number, it was a wrong number. And I'm like, I put two and two together
Damn.
after the fact, way after that happened with the number. I'm like, oh, he figures Mike Red is trying to holler at him. I was Mike Red's,
That's it.
boy
The
and shit.
connection. Yeah.
So I'm like, damn, man, that connection is fucking me up. So not too long ago, just recently, like maybe last year, my boy calls me. He's like, I got somebody want to talk to you. He gets on the phone. Everybody know Mike Red passed away now. Shit. He's like, yo, I mean, I thought he knew. He's like, yo, what's up, Wop? It's Trey. Yo, what up, Trey? Yo, I love you, Wop. I even said on the Michael K show that I used to be with Doo Wop. And that's true, though, because I saw the Michael K, the center stage, when he was
Yep.
on there, he mentioned me
I
and
saw
shit.
that.
I
Yep.
mean, yeah, Michael K knows what the fuck he was talking about, but he did mention me. He mentioned me on another interview, I remember. I was like, yo, I've been peeping at you. I appreciate you. And I was like, yo, Mike Red passed away. He was like, what? What happened? I was like, yeah, he passed away from cancer. Oh, man, God bless, God bless. Then all of a sudden he goes, yo, take my number now. Right? So I took his number. I'm gonna text you the number. So he texted me the number. I texted him back, good speaking with you. Love you, bro. Here, lock me in. He said, I got you. 3 days later, this motherfucker calls me. He doesn't know that I'm living in Maryland at the time. I'm living here already. He calls me and says, yo, I'm coming to scoop you. I'm gonna take you to the Knick game with me. Like now it's like how it should have been the whole time. Like I
Yo.
don't want nothing from Trey, but that's the
No.
type of shit we was
No.
on.
Yeah.
He grew up, even though he's from Brooklyn, he claims Brooklyn. When he came to me, for years he was living on Burnside and University. So we were like walking distance from each
Of
other,
course.
So it was always love, but I understood it. You know what I mean? And I never bring it up to him and shit. But now it's like it's all love and it's back to where, it should be.
So back on 95 Live, how the hell did you
So
get everybody? Yeah, how did all
right.
that? Because
So
you had you had everybody that you could think of at that time on it. How the hell
so
did you pull
so the
that off?
Buster so the Buster conversation put the battery in my back for me to say, okay, it can happen because I called him maybe a day or two later and said if I set up a session there, he was like, I'm there, I'm there, I'm there. Like I was saying too much. He was cutting me off like, I'm there, I'm there, I'm there. Just tell me when and where. So I said, all right, cool. Now I start putting two together. I'm like, if Buster knows me, who else knows me? So I hit Fat Joe, who I already knew for maybe since FloJo came out. I met Joe when FloJo came out. So you're talking about 4 or 5 years at this time.
Yep.
I already knew Joe. I had his number. I hit him up and I said, who can you get me that? At first I explained to him, he's down. He said, all right, cool. But to me, Joe wasn't a super big deal at the time, but he
Yep.
was good enough to fit that lineup. So I said, who else? And he was like, well, who you want? And I'm like, you get any of the Wu-Tang? Like any of them? They were fresh out. Um, Cuban Links either just came out or was about to come out. People would love it. I said, Raekwon. He said, I got Raekwon's number, but do not tell him I gave it to you. I said, no problem. I hit Raekwon and left a message on whatever it was. I don't know if it was a fucking beeper. I don't know what we had, but I know I left a message. He calls me back and he goes, he said, this Doo Wop? And I said, yeah. He said, Doo Wop from Uptown? And that struck me kind of weird, but then I understood it later. There's a Doo Wop in Staten Island.
Oh, okay,
There's a
okay.
DJ Doo Wop in Staten Island that was affiliated kind of with them, but he was like, Doo Wop from Uptown. I was like, yeah. He was like, all right, son, like, what you want to do with this shit? Like, yo, these guys didn't even talk. Genovese, I paid
No,
not one. The only money I ever spent to do 95 Live was the studio.
it was
I
all
never
love.
had to pay, and they never asked. It's not like they asked and I said I don't have it. Okay, I'll do it. No, they wanted to just be on the fucking tape. So it was like a fucking domino effect. I got Ray through Joe, and then from Ray maybe I got like Q-Tip's number or something. That's how it went, and I would just take a shot. But there was some people I had to hit like I couldn't get a contact, so I would hit the A&R who I was super cool with at the label or the street marketing, the marketing team or something. And I'll be like Eric Skinner got me Keith Murray. Keith Murray
Keep.
was you think he's a wild boy now? He was a wild boy in '95, like
Yeah.
on steroids. He came in the studio, didn't know what he was doing, didn't know why he was there, didn't care. He was like, yo, all right, what we doing? Where's the beat at? So I put on 7 minutes of funk. Doom, 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 the ain't no nigga beat. He went crazy on it and left. He the only motherfucker that came into this verse and just left without
He
like
killed that
caring
shit
where.
too.
He murdered it to the point I was like, this gotta go right at the top, right after
Yep.
my verse. Like I'm gonna obviously rhyme first, not because I feel it's just part of the tradition that I
Yep.
always did. So everybody goes right after. So he came right after, killed it. Mind you, he probably didn't even know he knew who I was, but didn't care. Like he
Didn't
was like, I'm
care.
just
Yeah.
there, the label got me up here, like, whatever. So boom. His response from that, I'm gonna get back to how everything came about, but his response to that tape was so massive for him that he called me when he found out I was doing part two in 96. I did part two, even though it was still called 95 Live. I did it in the next year. But he was so amped about it. He said, yo, can I come back? Now he's asking me directly, can he come back? And I'm like, of course. This motherfucker walks in. He was like, I got a surprise for you. Redman walks in behind him. He brought Redman with him, bro. I never even
Nah.
thought about trying to get Redman. I thought that was like not unreachable. This motherfucker walked in with Redman. Redman was all smiles. Or they was like, yo, let's do it. They killed it. But anyway, back to the first
Yo.
95 Live One, which was Keith Murray, Q-Tip, Busta Rhymes, Rampage the Last Boy Scout, Fat Joe, MOP, Unique, Guru, Ill and Out Scratch. I think that's like 10 people.
Yo. Yo.
Well, whether
What's his name?
so
Yo. MOP destroyed that.
destroyed it.
Oh.
And
Yeah.
they like Smith and Wesson. They come in with like something like catered, like they like sketched it out just for your tape, like that clack clack salute. That was just so
Oh,
perfect just
it
to
was
bring it
so
in.
and you know what? You know what made that thing so beautiful? Is New York in the house, right?
Yeah.
It was just, yo,
Yeah.
honestly,
And at the time,
if you think
the
of
beef
that
with the
not
West
in that
Coast.
song, it wouldn't have been the same. It just was so
Right,
perfect to just bring
right,
everyone in. It was like beautifully
right.
done.
Yeah, I couldn't even try to do something like that for part two. So I wasn't gonna try to like,
Nah.
how you try to chase like the first one. I'm like, I'm just gonna let everybody come in. I'll do something catchy, but there's not gonna be a segue. There's not gonna be a segue in between. And Guru, I remember when he came, he did his party back then. That's when he used to get pissy, pissy, pissy drunk. He was so fucked up. He did his part. It was fine with me. And I never just settled, but they are there. These big talents are there and they're doing the shit for me for free. So I'm not gonna be super picky, but I always appreciated how some of them were so like respectable and like you'd see these wild boys on these videos of them and you heard how they act, but they like Guru was like, yo, he called me the next morning and said, yo, can I come back tonight? I'll pay for the session. I want to redo mine because I don't sound like, I think I was too twisted. I'm like, Guru, you do what you want, but you ain't got to pay for nothing. Like, you want to do it
Yeah, yeah,
again, we
yeah.
do it again. Big
Where did you
L.
record that?
It's called Noise in the Attic. Um, I actually 95 Live is what gave that studio light after that, because I used to put the where it was recorded out on the back of the tape. A lot of people started coming there just because it was actually a little hole in the wall, very small, where if there was 5 people there, that's too many. But mind you, 5 people in that studio is too many. But mind you, I remember this one night, MOP, Buster, Raekwon, Fat Joe, and I don't know if it was Q-Tip or one of the other solos. It was like 7 of them plus their boys all were there at the same time. Raekwon did his part when Buster was there. They both did it.
Oh
And I
shit.
remember when Buster was talking about the Illuminati, when nobody was talking about the Illuminati yet. He was talking about it at the end after he rapped. He talked a lot on that. It's like the outro of his verse. Raekwon was staring in the booth. The glass was right here. Buster's on that side, rapping this way. Raekwon was staring in like he was so open, and when he said Illuminati, he went crazy. He said, "Yo, God, yo, I know about that shit." They was just start bugging, man.
Damn,
It
yo.
was like it was just a moment that, to this day, who the hell? What was I thinking of not just documenting all that shit on video? I have
Oh, we
nothing.
didn't think about that back then. We didn't. We listen. Let's just be real. Back then, if you said, "Yo, let me take a picture with you," it was corny.
I had an argument, a
It
big
just
argument
was.
with
I'm
the
being real.
engineer. I had an argument with the engineer Frenchie, who right now we've been cool forever. I just spoke to him the other day because I said I might put out a 30th anniversary of 95 Live on like wax and a CD and a tape, like a
You gotta
box
do
set.
that.
So I used to argue with him about taking pictures because he was bugging out. He was working at the studio where nobody would come to. If anything, it was just like some Joe Schmo would come there to record. He sees KRS walk in. He sees fucking Tretch, all these people, AZ, Lost Boys. He's taking pictures of everybody. I'm like, yo, chill, man. Just sit down and do your job. I'm like, we had this like almost come to blows. Like, I was like, yo, you can't do that. I'm paying for this time. Sit down and work. Now you got me DMing him the other day, like, yo, you got some of them pictures from 95 Live? He's
Yo,
like, yo, I'm gonna look for him. I'm gonna look for him. If I got him, I got you. But mind you, I was beefing with him about it. That just goes back to what you said. Like, it was almost corny, like to be like, let's take a
it
flick.
was. I don't have any like I have that one picture with like me, the Locks, and DMX like in
Uh-huh.
Miami. I mean, it's an iconic picture because X has like a sweater on, and we're in Miami is 95 degrees, and it just goes to show how hungry everybody was back then.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of like being around all these people in the industry, I don't have any picture, I don't have any video, I don't have anything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I think it goes like if you grew up, in the streets and you run around like to take a picture with another dude back then. Hey, listen, if I run into some like if me and you got up, yo, wow, let's take a flick, throw it on the gram.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
then it was
Yeah.
nothing to.
Yeah.
Where were you gonna put it in your on your wall in your room? You know,
That's it.
so
That's
so it
it.
was a different time. So yeah, I do wish I had stuff. I know you probably do, but it was just the time that we lived in.
hmm And then the is New York in the House thing came about too, because that was right when all that source shit happened with the West Coast. And even though I knew nobody was, we weren't dissing the East Coast on West Coast, but we were just like standing up for us, like that's
Yeah,
why I did it for, it was right in the height of that. So that's why Q-Tip caught flack from Ice Cube, because Q-Tip said to your West Coast haters, we will bust your shit. That's what he said in one of his bars
that's
on
right.
that tape. He it was a bad choice of words for that time, but he meant like, all right, the shit is going on to you haters though, but nobody's gonna listen to that and decipher it like, oh, you just mean the haters over here. They're like, nigga just said West Coast. That's all they had to hear. So Ice Cube got pissed off and took a shot at him on something. This is another thing. This is why that old that like I said, you didn't know how far these tapes will go. Like Ice Cube heard that shit on his own, 3,000 miles away.
You
And
see?
that's when it was just a tape. And I didn't even do a playlist. I had a reason for that. Like, if you were already a Doo Wop fan, you're going to get a special treat when you buy this tape. It just says 95 Live. I'm pretty sure you're going to buy it if you already bought everything else I made before. You're going to throw it on and hear the illest 23-minute freestyle session that you probably ever going to hear up to that point. And because then after that, that birth, 50 MCs, that birth, the Clue doing all the dope freestyles he did that were probably some of the best ever. And it just was like I didn't want it to be okay. So KRS is coming up next. Okay, let me see what he going. No, I just want you to hear it for what it is.
And for all that don't know, the mixtapes in the mid '90s, obviously later they had the inserts, and some of them had the track listing. But before that, when you were saying 211 or three, you just got the tape. There was nothing on the tape
You
for
didn't
you to
even know. You
know,
didn't even
and
know
you
if it
didn't
was
care
R and B.
because you
You didn't
bought the
even know it
tape
was
because
R and B. Yeah,
but you just
you didn't
knew
know if it
that
was
like
R and B or hip hop or reggae. You
nope,
just
you
didn't
don't
know.
know if
He's
it was
like,
B side
I'm
all R
I'm
and B
buying the
or if A
DJ,
side was. Yeah, but you knew who was DJing, and you went to buy the brand. You went to buy the WAP
the
tape. You went to
brand,
buy Kid
the
Capri. You
brand.
went to buy Double R. You went to buy whoever you were going to get. You knew what they did, and that's why you bought the tape. So for people that
Yeah.
don't know, no, all the mixtapes did not have track listings early on.
And then, then time went on, and I knew I couldn't, like I said, I'm not going to chase that 95 Live, but I would still do freestyle sessions. Like when I did Bronx Tale, obviously I call on the Bronx heavy hitters. And at that time, I knew then that I could probably call anybody that I wanted, and they would probably come and shit. So I had Pun, I did Bronx Tale tape, I had Pun, Joe, whoever else was from the BX, whatever. And so Lord Tariq Peter Guns, who was super on fire at the time. This is when Deja Vu came out. So I remember Pun coming to D&D's. He met me in D&D's. He was Dolo. Came by himself, and I wanted him to rhyme off of Deja Vu. Deja Vu was on the radio all day, but I didn't give a fuck. I'm like, Pun would sound so crispy on this. There's
Crazy.
not a lot going on in the beat. I hate the noisy beats and shit. So I'm like, yo, this is perfect. So I only brought that record with me because I'm like, well, we're not gonna get on a computer and download something from YouTube. Doesn't exist right now. So I just brought Deja Vu with me. So he gets to the studio. He's like, what you want me to rap on? I said right here, and I gave him the record. And it was the Lord Tariq Peter Gun single. He threw it. He was like, I ain't rhyming off this bullshit, right?
Yo,
And I said, yo, you serious? He was like, nah, I'm just playing. Go ahead, throw it on, whatever. But I still
yo,
thought that he probably didn't like it. So I'm like, God damn, man. I should have brought some other shit in my mind. He gets in that booth, bro. He did this verse that later on they got from me. I gave it to them, obviously, when Big L passed. They did that record. They put all of them together.
Oh
Pun
yeah,
was
yeah.
already dead too. This was after 2000, Three Deadly, whatever. I don't know what it was called, but it was Pun, Biggie, and Big L, I believe. They like put a record together. I think Buck Wild produced it. They used that verse on there. And that's the one where he was like, no doubt, I'm from the X and I seen it all. Shorties who dreams of playing ball turn to fiends and some shit, Seton Hall, some shit, yo, but he
Yo,
fucking murdered it. Murdered it. Murdered it. I'm like, I knew it. Like I knew this beat was perfect for Pun. So shit like that, man. You just like I'm just so glad I experienced shit like that. Like
all right, yo. To end it off, I got a few things we're gonna do. First one, we're gonna do 3 dinner guests.
um so so I got first person, Tupac. Tupac, never met Tupac. I feel about Tupac the way probably everybody does. You just gotta admire his passion, the way you could just listen to this guy talk for forever and shit. But it's like, there was this one record that came out after he passed away where he said he's gonna fuck me up, right? It was called The Art of War. He was like, Doo Wop, don't get your ass fucked up because I put this record out with King's Son, and King's Son was dissing Tupac. Tupac caught wind of it, and he fucking you know, I kind of always wanted. I mean, it's not like it's ever gonna happen, obviously, but if I was to sit with Tupac and just like, what was he thinking? Like us as DJs, we play a record, we like, we're not. So Tupac for sure, for so many reasons, but for that one, Allen Iverson, Allen Iverson, I just admire him too. Like hearing his stories, seeing his passion. I mean, this dude make you cry in like every interview that he has. Like just his passion. And I remember one time I was in Virginia for a celebrity basketball game. I was only at the game because I was doing the after party, so I went to watch the game. Like all those and one guys were playing, probably Hot Sauce and all of them. And I was chilling on the side, and all of a sudden somebody comes next to me and grabs me and squeezed my shoulder and was like, yo, who gave you that 40 bars record? And I'm looked and it's Allen Iverson. I was like, oh shit. I
Yo,
got tongue tied for a minute. I'm like, yo, Charles Suge, he stopped me. He was like, man, Wop, I'm just fucking with you, man. Thanks for playing it, man. You like the only DJ that wanted to play that shit. Thank you, bro. Whatever. Some shit he put out on Universal when he was trying to rap. I was like, oh shit. He was like, yo, take my number down, man. So I never really stayed in touch with him. I don't like to like, be calling motherfuckers for no reason and
of
shit, but
course.
he gave me his number on a piece of little paper. I probably lost it and shit, but it's just him, just the way he is. And then I saw him at the airport one day, but he was like too far, and I'm like my flight was leaving, so I couldn't like holler at him. I would love to holler at him. And that time in Virginia, that same day, I was checking into my hotel, and I'm like waiting at the thing. They're supposed to have our keys. Like we weren't going to check in with ID because the promoter left our keys in an envelope. She was like, what's the name it's under? I said, Doo Wop. She couldn't find it. I said DJ Doo Wop, and then she found it. And this black lady that was standing next to me, she was like, "You're DJ Doo Wop. You know how my son drove me crazy playing your music with all that cursing in it. But then again, whatever, you play some good music, but da da da." And I was like, "Oh," and I just gave her a hug. Now later on, I found out my friend was like, "You know who that is? That's Allen Iverson's mom."
His mother.
She was talking about
Yo,
Allen Iverson playing my tapes in his room and shit. So, and then
bro,
the
that stuff
last
like that
man.
is worth more than everything.
Then the last one is not really hip hop or music related, but I never met my grandparents at all because they were all passed away very early and like a long, long time ago. And but my mom's mom passed away when she was 9. So like just been being able to probably like ask her about like my mom's like younger years because my mom and it turned out to be this selfless person who was just she wouldn't even tell you she's in pain and she'll be like dying inside. Like she always wants everybody else to be happy and she's happy. She wants, she was always she was such a great person, man. So like I would love to sit with her mom and shit to because I know I from what my mom told me, I don't think she never really like knew her dad or whatever, but her mom and shit, like I would love to sit with my grandmother and shit. Yeah.
Man,
That would be the three.
this last one is called One Word. So I'm gonna say a few things, just drop a word behind it.
Okay.
All right. The Bronx.
So it's one word, right? Hip hop. I
Yep.
mean it's 2 words, but hip hop.
Mixtape.
The start,
That's good. Mom and dad.
everything.
Your wife.
Backbone.
And last but not least, doo-wop.
I say innovator without patting myself on the back. Innovator,
I'll say it
innovator.
too. Innovative.
It's a lot of stuff that even a lot of people don't know that, even these flash drives that we have now, like that every DJ is now putting their old mixtapes on. I started that back in 2011. Nobody was even thinking about the shit. Like I started it and I was like, I'm putting a price on this shit of like 350, $400 just for like, a simple little flash drive. And people, my hardcore fans, they were like, here, nigga, take my money because I don't have those tapes no more. And if I do, I can't play them here. Like just the flash drives alone doing that. The rappers on tape, a lot of shit. A lot of shit, my nigga. A lot of shit.
Nah, you
A
deserve
lot
your
of shit.
flowers, bro. You really do. And I'm
And
here to
and one
tell.
thing I'm gonna say about a person that's very like tied in with you with Clue that I want to tell you real quick before we go.
Sure.
DJ Clue, me and him never really, it was no reason for it. We just never really saw eye to eye, or it was more on my end for some reason when he came out with the CDs. Everybody was looking at him like, nigga, you fucking the game up and all that. But even though we know he was actually doing the opposite of that. But we were looking at him a certain way. Don't you know when he got Mixtape Mondays on Hot 97, the first thing he played on his first show was 10 Tape Commandments
Yo.
by me. I was like,
Yo, I never knew
nigga,
that.
nigga, punch yourself in the face, Wop. Like that, like this dude, this
Damn.
dude is, yeah, that's the first thing he ever played. I was like, I mean, listen, even though I ain't like him, I'm like, I'm listening to see how he gonna come on his show. I'm sitting there, shit came on. I think he's come on at 10 o'clock. It was after Flex. I don't know. It was 1 hour on Hot 97, the biggest fucking thing ever to us because no mixtape DJ had a show. This motherfucker had his show. I mean, Kid Capri and them years ago on BLS, but this is different. This is in the height of the Clue era. And this motherfucker played 10 Tape Commandments to set off the show. That to me meant everything, bro.
Oh, that's a
Yep.
salute right there. My brother, I
Shit was
appreciate your
dope, man. I
time.
appreciate
Always
this,
flowers,
Genovese.
always not only innovator, talented, you're a good dude, and that goes a long way in the business.
Thank you. Appreciate you, man. Talk again. You got my number anytime you need me, bro.
They say you can't live in the past, but we can hang out there for a while.